Today we're going to talk about the top 5 abandoned Jagex video games. I just want to say before we start the video, if you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord linked in the bio below. Number 5. War of Legends in 8 Realms. War of Legends was originally released in 2010 with Shanghai-based developer Untitled. This game was Jagex's first attempt at microtransactions. People could spend money to increase their productivity, like similar games of the time. On top of the civilization building aspect of the game, War of Legends featured a rudimentary turn-based combat system pitting your army against another. The game was plagued with numerous bugs and massive amounts of lag on release. This is clearly evident based on the videos I found on YouTube of the game, making it off-putting for any potential new players. The game was ultimately closed down due to a security issue in December of 2014. The following month, Jagex put out a statement saying the game would be closed indefinitely due to the length of time it would take to resolve the aforementioned issues, saying, quote, "The development team are not able to resolve the security issues that have been identified, and from an historical experience with trying to resolve these sorts of problems, it's likely to take many more months to identify and resolve. Even then, a fix is still not guaranteed." It's hard to say if this is the decision Jagex would have taken if there was a large enough player base to support the required work. From here we move on to 8 Realms, and this is a game that I personally remember playing when it was released. To be able to play, you required an invitation to the closed beta. The object of the game was to advance through 8 ages, from ancient to future. You worked on building up culture in your current age by completing daily tasks. In all, the game lasted a little over 1 year, with CEO of Jagex at the time, Mark Gerhardt, stating that the game was being closed because of the need to, quote, "focus sharply on our 3 priorities for this year, namely continuing to grow Runescape, developing a great Transformers MMO, and the launch of another game that is currently a closely guarded secret." More on that later. Number 4. Runescape Idle Adventures. Runescape Idle Adventures is another game on this list that I personally played while it was out. The game was produced in combination with Idle developer Hyper Hippo, and it was released across numerous platforms. The game got mixed reviews during its extremely short life. The object of the game was to progress through various Runescape towns and complete skilling spots that would earn you blue and red anima. The anima was used to upgrade the main character's stats and progress more quickly through the game. There was also a combat system in the form of dungeons that had you facing off against Runescape-related mobs. You also completed quests from famous Runescape NPCs that were used to advance the plot of the story. Once you reached a point where it became too challenging, you could prestige by resetting all of your quests in progress while holding on to your skill levels. I personally enjoyed this game and remember feeling a little upset that the development cycle was far too slow to attract new players. The game was ultimately closed down in May of 2017. Number 3. Mechscape and Stellar Dawn. No list of abandoned Jagex games would be complete without the disaster that was Mechscape and Stellar Dawn. This is a game that almost everyone was hyped about when it was initially discussed at the height of Runescape's popularity in 2007 and 2008. The goal of the game was to be a more technologically advanced browser game when compared to Runescape. It was also supposed to have benefited from all the years of experience that Jagex had gained from developing Runescape. As anyone else who eagerly followed what little information came out about this product knows, both Stellar Dawn and Mechscape had virtually nothing besides concept art and promotional teasers to back them up. This lack of concrete information, coupled with an incredibly long development cycle, poised the game for its ultimate demise.
And it's pretty common knowledge that we're working on a new MMO, which is going to be launched in Q1 of next year.
Okay, can you tell us anything about it?
Not really, no. So we're keeping our cards very close to our chest.
As the Q1 2009 release window came and went, Mechscape fans and fan sites continued to wonder what would become of the supposed MMO. Later in the year, Mark Gerhardt made an announcement stating that the game would ultimately be shuttered before its release. You would think that Jagex had learned some lessons after dumping millions into the development of Mechscape to do things a little bit differently when it came to working on Stellar Dawn, but that unfortunately did not happen. Development of Stellar Dawn officially started in 2010 when Jagex released yet another blitz of promotional hype in the form of a vague trailer that showcased nothing of the game and a website that you could use to register and access forms to discuss the game. I distinctly remember people populating these forums with plans for how they were going to play the game and trying to pull information from JMods who monitored the site. but nothing ever surfaced. With nothing but words to back it up, the release window for Stellar Dawn was slated for 2011, but this window came and went with little official notice. In 2012, Stellar Dawn was officially put on hold indefinitely. Number 2. Transformers Universe. The famous, or should I say, the infamous Transformers Universe. This game was originally announced in 2011 with a trailer that showcased almost nothing in the form of concrete details about the game. Knowing what we know now, this trailer is extremely humorous to see, as it referenced a 2012 release date that quickly came and went. This is pretty standard for Jagex at this point, but it bears repeating now. It's better to release nothing than to release information and fail to deliver on a promise. Jagex did several promotional blitzes during this time. I remember them going to a convention and having something set up so you could make an avatar that would be printed out for you to keep. This showcased some of the graphics of the character creation models. The 2012 window came and went with little information and virtually nothing in the form of beta besides interest signups. I remember contacting ModCrow at the time via Twitter to gain any type of information during 2012, but he was very tight-lipped. Toward the end of 2012, Jagex put out its first trailer of the game with a release window set for 2013. The trailer featured some impressive visual effects for a browser game, along with updated character models and lighting effects that hadn't been seen up until that point. One thing you did notice from the trailer, however, was a fairly poor FPS during the combat scenes. This apparently prompted a massive layoff and shift in 2013 when Jagex decided to ditch its in-house tech and instead used an established engine for the game, like Unity. This made a 2013 release window highly unlikely, given the fact that the game would need to be completely retooled, going from an MMO to a MOBA using an engine that Jagex employees were not as familiar with. It's funny to note, but this change was supposed to have a positive benefit in that the staff would be transitioned to work on, quote, Runescape 3 in HTML5 and Runescape 3 on tablets for the end of the year of 2013. As we all know, this never happened. At the beginning of 2014, we got our first new game trailer for Transformers Universe. Given the fact that it was now using the Unity engine, the game looked extremely polished. The game was slated at this point for a summer release. Needless to say, that never happened either. Toward the end of 2014, we started to get our first look at the game in action. The game was ultimately closed less than a year after its beta release, with a news post stating that both of the companies were realigning their focuses for the following year. Who is to say what would have happened if this game had been released in 2012 like it was originally intended? Number 1. Chronicle. Runescape Legends. Finally, we have Runescape Chronicle. This is the only game on this list that you can actually play at this moment if you wanted to. Chronicle was announced in October of 2014. The object of the game was to create a quest through the pages of a book. The art style of the placemat and the cards themselves are very reminiscent of Hearthstone, which is not a bad thing, as I believe that this is what Jagex was trying to mirror the game off of. Jagex released a short pre-alpha demo at RuneFest of that year, showcasing some of the early mechanics of the game. The game moved into closed beta at the end of 2015. A year later, Jagex tried to stir up some interest by paying top TCG YouTubers to play the game in their content, most notably the Hearthstone YouTuber Trump. The game saw a Steam release in 2016. YouTuber Killer Bits stated that the game lacked various things on launch that caused the player base to rapidly decline. She stated that it lacked a few features that would have allowed it to be competitive, such as a spectator client, chat, tutorials, and a mobile client when it was released. This, coupled with a few imbalances in the meta, made it so that way it was very off-putting for new players. The game is on this list because it hasn't seen any updates in well over a year, making it essentially abandoned. I played the game for the first time to make this video, and I have to say that I find it fairly enjoyable. That being said, it's not a game that I would necessarily want to play solely on a computer. Even though the game is basically dead at this point, I had no problems matching up with a person to play my first game. Who knows what the future holds for RuneScape Chronicle. And now I leave you with this. What games would make your top 5 list? And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That's all for this one. Until next time, Taki out.